Hello and welcome to another edition of Discover Monroe, an ongoing series in which we look at many of the unique characters of Monroe County, West Virginia, and we also focus upon the possible impact upon the county of the Mountain Valley Pipeline. Today we're on the alternate route and we are in the Knobs area of Monroe County, which is a location, the Knobs of course, referencing the fact that this is a mountain range type environment, and what we're going to be looking at today is an area along Rains Road which runs a little bit below the Knobs and is, we think, a very critical area because of a lot of things that we will be focusing later on related to the terrain, the slope, and the water, which is something we've been looking at all along as far as potential impacts. To my right, you can see just how steep the grade is here, and in this particular location looks like it's up to 70%. The pipeline will be running to my rear up across a mountain, a knob, and going straight up, so you can get a pretty good idea of what type of terrain this is and the difficulties that will be encountered in constructing a pipeline in this area. If this construction takes place, basically the equipment will have to be cabled off to the side of the mountain to maintain the location for the excavating process. So it is something that is a difficult process, and we think that it's going to be very problematic. Down below me is a spring which provides the water source for a house nearby, and of course the owner is very concerned about the impact upon the water from the construction process and whether there will be water after the construction process at all.
Okay, I am Bob Ray. I don't own this land. This land actually is the estate of Bob and Nelda Fry and is owned by their children. But I have a lifetime contract to live here, and I live in the house that they were living in. This is our spring down here, and the spring has been regularly providing water for the last 150 years. I am concerned that the pipeline coming through, it's coming through on the knob right above the spring, and I'm concerned that the 9-foot by 9-foot trench that they're planning to dig through it will divert the water. All of our water comes from limestone lenses that are underneath here, and water follows the path of least resistance, and if you put a 9-foot by 9-foot trench in there, that's probably where the water's going to go.
Okay. We're continuing down Rains Road here beside the Knobs, and what we want to point out here is just how steep this mountainside is. This is typical of what the pipeline construction would encounter if they bring the pipeline through here. And as you can see above me here, there is ongoing erosion that's occurring here naturally, and any type of construction process is going to make that much worse and create huge problems. But right here in this particular location, the grade is probably 70 to 75% in certain areas. Continuing along Rains Road, our best guess is that the pipeline will be crossing in this area here, and what I want to point out is the nature of the soil here. Once the pipeline is constructed and recovered, there will not be any really possibility of growing anything in this type soil. This loose soil here is not conducive to replanting and regrowing, and what will happen will be a constant process over the years of sedimentation runoff, and eventually probably even to the point where there are large trenches that develop as a result of that runoff. And this is something that is going to be a major problem forever if this pipeline is constructed through this type soil on this type steep terrain. continuing on Rains Road, we're a little bit further to the toward Wayside area, and this is another residence. The pipeline, as we can best tell, would pass just below us here about 100 feet. And if you look to my left here, you will see a well here which supplies a household in this location. And of course, the well would most likely be affected by the pipeline coming through here. So as we've discussed in the previous episodes of Discover Monroe, water is a constant concern with this pipeline, and there are literally hundreds of different sources of water within the county that could be impacted, and that is all the way from individual springs which supply households to wells to even public service districts and public water supplies which supply thousands of people. We're still along Rains Road here in the Knobs area of Monroe County, and to my left and rear is High Peak that the proposed pipeline routing would be crossing. And once again, I think this evidences the type of terrain that they will be running into constantly here in Monroe County. Based upon looking at the initial pipeline routing that is being proposed, it appears that as much as 70 to 75% of the pipeline routing within the county will be on a gradient of over 25%, which in most places in the United States, according to building codes, no building should even take place. So this is an extreme area, and we want to make sure that this is known and that we do have this considered in the proposed part of this process. Okay, we're still on Rains Road here in Monroe County, and we're at the home of Sally Alm, and she is going to tell us a little bit about her life, her history here and the area, and also about her concerns with the proposed natural gas pipeline that may affect her area or will affect her area. So I'm just going to let Sally speak to you, and just feel free to tell us whatever you want to.
Okay, well, we bought this place in '66, intending to use it as a camping ground. We camped all over the United States with our kids as they were growing up. We had a little homemade camper, and of course back in the '60s, there weren't many regular big campers and so forth like there are now. And I would have to help Bob set it up. I was so happy when our oldest son got big enough so he could do that. He'd hold up one end and we'd make our campground. So that's what we intended to use this place for, because the house was old. It had been built in 1903 by a George Kirshner, and it didn't have any, it had electricity, but no water inside or anything like that. And it hadn't been lived in for several years, so it was in pretty bad shape. And we had at first intended to just tear it down, but our neighbor, who was an heir to the place, Shelby Kirshner, said, "Oh, this is a well-built house, you don't want to tear it down." And so as we worked on it, and my husband wanted to work on it himself, which he did most of the work, except he didn't build the garage or add the new room because he was ill at that point, by that point. But he did almost all the work inside. And we just loved it here. And as he retired in 1979, then we spent from spring, April to October here. We couldn't spend the winter because we didn't have any heat in the house. As soon as it started to snow, we'd leave. Go back to Wheaton, Illinois was where we were living at that point. But we could hardly wait to get back in the spring. Spring is such a beautiful time in Monroe. And we had early on we had a trail down to what we called Flower Valley over here, a lot of wildflowers there. And we had a trail up to the top. And one of our sons said we ought to build a cottage up there so we could really look out over the valley, as we look out over Wolf Creek Valley here in the back. And then the spring with the redbud and the dogwood is absolutely beautiful. We used to trail a lot, hike a lot when we were young. And then Bob got ill, and so we stayed here though. We moved for sure, not till '93. And then since then, of course, I've lived here. Then I lost him in '97, and I've been here by myself since then with my 3 cats and a dog. And the children come when they can. We have one son and his wife that live in New Orleans, and they come up and get me. And as you know, it's hard to get anywhere because of the lack of airlines close. Although now you can get out of the one in Lewisburg. But anyway, that's about the story of how we found the place in the Bulletin, Market Bulletin, which a lot of people don't even realize there is one.
Right.
And they're still publishing it.
Yeah, I found my original farm in the Market Bulletin.
Did
too.
you really?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Back in the 70s, as a matter of fact. Well, now, what about this pipeline thing? How do you? What are your feelings? How do you feel? How you feel it's going to affect you?
Well, it'll ruin the northern part of our farm because it's, according to certain maps, it will come up from the valley up through an edge of our property, across that road, which I don't know what's going to happen to the road, and then go up to the top of the mountain there and take probably, 100 to 125 feet, just destroy it, destroy the flowers and the trees and destroy our road. I don't know how we'll get along. Being by myself, my neighbor, Ba Ray, is so generous. She picks up my mail and takes me for groceries, and if she has to, I don't know how she'd even get it. Well, she'd have to just go clear around, and I don't even know if she can make that. So the pipeline would be a disaster. Plus, I worry about how it will disturb our water table. And now, lately, there have been so many notices of explosions on pipelines. So I worry about that, how that would affect everything.
Yeah. Now, approximately how close to your house?
Well, it's across the area here. I can't tell you how many feet.
But you are within the blast zone.
Oh, I'm afraid I would be,
Yeah.
yes. And like I say, I'm more worried about water, because if we don't have water, I have a deep well, and I would hate to, well, I couldn't stay here if I didn't have the water well, the well, which is not real deep, but it's deep enough to furnish water that I need.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we do have a pond, which we put in many, many years ago. And because you realize that it's be almost 50 years that we will have had this place, which I can't quite believe.
Yeah.
And our youngest son used to come here from college and stay in we had a little trailer, a little travel trailer, where we would stay while we worked on the house. And he loved it too. Well, all 3 of our children really loved this place, and our grandchildren do especially. And I even have a couple great-grandchildren now.
Fantastic.
Yeah, really wonderful. I'm hoping they'll love to be able to come here and not have the area be destroyed by a pipeline. It's kind of impossible to think that anything like that would happen in a nice, quiet area that would be so destructive and destroy the beautiful nature of Monroe County.
Well, okay, Sally. Well, thank you very much for sitting down and talking with us about this, because as I mentioned to you previously, one of the things we're trying to do is put a human face on this. The people who are in power as far as the pipeline are concerned tend to look at these particular situation, and this pipeline is just affecting a number of people, and that there are no personalities involved and no lives that are being interrupted, and we want to make it known to them what the impact is in human terms instead of just in terms of numbers, population, census, or any of the other stuff that they deal with. This is your home.
This is my home.
And this is everything.
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Sally.
Well, you're entirely welcome.
Okay, I know that road very well. Yeah.
That road goes to Alderson.
There used to be a little store right to the right of that little clearing there that you can see on the left.
Well, there still is a store, but there's nothing there.
Right.
The building is there.
The building's there, right? Yeah, I was county health inspector for 5.5 years, and I traveled every back road within this county, so I know the whole situation. Yeah, I left the health department 2 years ago.
Well, that's too bad. You should have stayed.
Well, I thought about it. And we invite you to get involved with the opposition to this pipeline. You can do that in a number of ways. By participating, you can find out more information by going to preservemonroe.org or savemonroe.org on the web. You can contribute financially, or you can get involved personally, because we do need volunteers for the various activities that are involved. It is a tremendous fight, struggle against these corporate powers that have unlimited financial resources, and we are doing it with ground level support. So we invite your involvement.